Good morning, viewers. Thank you very much. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting from the Political Command Center live. Thank you very much across the continent of Africa. Good morning, all of you, those who have not been hearing my voice for some time. Here it is. Thank you very much, Miriam in Nairobi, Kenya. Good morning, Miriam.
A very good morning to you, Doc, and good morning to our viewers. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where they're tuned in and watching us today.
Thank you very much. Today's topic is a very important topic before Miriam does the housekeeping, giving us headlines of newspapers across the continent of Africa, starting with the Kenyan newspapers. We shall be looking at the journey of Africa begins today. Africa needs a straightforward way out of all this. Is it a redemption strategy, the unity of purpose? Is it a fallout? Are we breaking? Are we at the brink? As we celebrate one election going out, handing over power, even when the majority of the voters did not turn up, are we making some progress in Africa? Are we stable? 7 years ago, when I started this television station, there were so many obstacles on the continent of Africa. Even some people in Africa did not know that there was a station that could be online. I'm privileged. It's the 8th year of my journey to make sure that this television station still broadcasts talks. If you look at all the time we have spent on air talking about Africa, have we made any progress? But before we go into that topic today, between me and Miriam, and any other person who wants to join us, just Google that, just go to our Zoom and join us. Anytime, discuss this issue. Is Africa moving forward? Does the journey of Africa start now, tomorrow, when? But before we do that, let's look at the general newspapers across the continent of Africa. Miriam has them listed all the way from Uganda. My God, an anti-gay bill that is making the world shake. What is it that some of us might not know about this? Is it the harsh punishment for people who live in this world of United Kingdom and America and Europe and elsewhere? Some of these things have been there. We go in the trains in the morning. We have no problem with some of our humanity. It is a choice. The only problem is the choice belongs to individuals, not to all of us. But we must accommodate all of us. Like the Plateau Republic says, if the Plateau Republic sinks, then you know there can't be democracy, Miriam. If it sinks, then there can't be democracy. So let's first of all engage in housekeeping. Miriam tells us the newspapers of Kenya, and you notice that, Miriam, I'm calm in my discussion, and I think I've improved in terms of analysis, in terms of strategic management, in terms of risk assessment, in terms of investment assessment, in terms of media assessment, in terms of communication. What kills Africa is communication. If you don't have it, you have zero. Even if you have PhD, if you can't communicate to your people with mass communication tools of analysis, you can't get it right. Let's hear from Miriam. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So, here are the headlines of first papers from Kenya. The Daily Nation, a fund for every president, then loss of billions. That is the main headline there. And then MCA's vote 38 to 1 to kick out deputy governor. That's what we have there, right? Amidst MPs as Kenya Kwanza moves to save talks. The Standard newspaper, Ruto faces taxes rebellion among Mount Kenya members of parliament. Elected leaders from the deputy president's backyard are uneasy lot after attempts to make them embrace the new tax measures have fallen flat. Locals instead want taxes reduced to make life more affordable. That story is on page 4. On the Star newspaper, Ruto UDA MPs in a tight spot over tax laws, and the People Daily, unions in strike, threat over tax, and just up there, Uhuru, this is why I backed Raila. Ex-president reveals why he opposed Kenya's winner-take-all nature of politics ahead of handing over of power fit in Nigeria. That is former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Haji found 17 graft case files wanting. The Business Daily, state eyes telco profits in tighter dominance rules, and Don Taifa Leo, the leading newspaper in Kiswahili, Shakahola Ruto Raila Abwaga Ruto, whatever that means. But let's look at some other papers from the region. We go to Egypt, the Daily News. Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei welcomes activating ties with Egypt. And then Arab League, UNHCR discuss refugee crisis issues in the region. The Guardian from Nigeria, scarcity trails subsidy removal as Tinubu begins house cleaning. And then Vanguard, also from Nigeria, Tinubu hits ground running, removes fuel subsidy. The Daily Trust, fuel subsidy is gone. That is according to Tinubu. He pledged Naira redesign review. Higher growth rate once interest rate reduced, and then he said he'll work with you. Biden assures president that he will work with him, the new president of Nigeria. The Punch, Nigeria won't break up, says Tinubu, meets US, UK, Saudi Arabia envoys. And then Daily Monitor, anti-gay bombshell, that is from Uganda. The New Vision as well from Uganda, new anti-gay law bans recruitment. The Citizen from Tanzania, government speaks out on new agricultural trade rules. And the Daily News as well from Tanzania, Samia bolsters TZ Nigeria ties. The New Times from Rwanda, foreign investors eye Rwanda's affordable housing scheme. And then Nigerian President Tinubu sworn in. That is the main pictorial there. Sorry. And then we go to the UK. The Independent, how we saved this 4-year-old girl from killer mold. And iNews, households urged to recycle less to cut waste. The Guardian, Labour to let councils buy land cheaply to tackle housing crisis. The Daily Express, stop banks ripping off loyal savers. And then The Times, legal wrangle looms over Johnson's WhatsApp chats. The Daily Telegraph, Prime Minister backs feminists in Oxford row over free speech. And the Daily Mail, fury at Starmer's £1.5 million from Just Stop Oil donor. And that is what we have in some of the papers from Africa and those are from the UK. Back to you, Doc.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Thank you very much for that insight of the daily papers, although we might pick up one or two things on the question of, I don't know whether am I okay?
Yes.
The head. Yes, I will pick up on one of the topics, Miriam. Today our topic is very, very clear. Africa Watch. The African journey begins today. Why did I pick this topic, that the African journey begins today? The African journey has been going on for a long time. But 60 years of our independence, our African Union, Organization of African Unity, marked 60 years last year on 25th. Where have we gone? What have we done? What have we changed? What can we change as Africans? I begin by questioning several things. Is democracy taking hold in Africa? Are we standing firm against any form of operation or of operation to return ourselves to militarism or operation to return ourselves to dictatorship? Is Africa bringing back the old habits of where there was nothing but you see only coups and the coups. Is Africa changing? What triggers Africa? What makes Africa lack the movement forward? These are areas that we need to look at. These are areas that we want to talk about today and give solutions. Yesterday, Nigeria marked another 16th president of the Federal Government of Nigeria, as it commonly called. But Nigeria still has. President Uhuru Kenyatta made a maiden speech, a speech of unity of purpose. What about the other 68 million people, Miriam, who did not vote? Where do you take them? Tinubu took over power. Tinubu took over power from Buhari, who has been very repressive. But 68 million people did not vote. Is it an election that we must use as a gauge for our politics in Africa? Why can't we do the Chinese way? China discovered that things were not moving properly. China went back to drawing board. And China discovered that after all this that we have done, built the Trans-Am Railway, we built a rice scheme in Uganda under Mao Zedong, we gave arms to the liberation movements. China gave us arms to fight the same people who don't want us to talk to Chinese, the same people who don't want us to give us money to eat along with Chinese, the same people who want to put embargo sanctions on Africa. But they did not want us to have the shackles of slavery, the shackles of colonialism shackled out. What do we do now that we have reached a stage of 60 years, but we haven't changed? We do the same things the same time, the same place. The more they change, the more they remain the same. What is our way forward? These are the questions that every African asks. What do? We are talking of fight. We are talking of opposition not seeing the government not seeing opposition. Why is it so? We don't have systems that can, institutions. We make institutions, we put bodies, but we don't put safeguards to safeguard the institutions to make sure that in Europe, why it has moved where it is today, London, in UK, in US, institutions work. You don't find the president policing health workers. You don't find the prime minister policing health workers. It is impossible. Very, very impossible. The prime minister only comes in when everything has fallen. So what is this that makes everything not workable? What is this that changes lots of things? Is there a need for us to find alternatives? Can Africa go back? Can Africa begin a journey? Who can spearhead this Africa, Miriam? Where do we move from this direction? We are already stuck. We are in a hole. In Sudan, you saw the Russian foreign minister looking for one of the generals, and they found him very easily. But Africa cannot find him easily. That's very sad. You have seen the picture of General Dagula with the Russian foreign minister, isn't it? So if African Union cannot find General Dagula, but a foreigner can come and find General Dagula and talk to him and tell him we want peace. What is it that Africa can, what is the use of African Union? The AU is captured. The AU is given instructions. The AU is told whom you should go to prosecute. The AU is now is sitting quiet. When across in the other place in Democratic Republic of Congo, we have difficulties there. And that is what we are having today. The ICC chief prosecutor is in Democratic Republic of Congo, is looking for more clients, more clients to beef up the ICC for them to be paid monthly. Africa is giving the ICC clients, because without inmates, without people on charge sheet, Mr. Karim would do no work. He would have to pack and come back home and sleep in his house. After all, he has made a lot of money out of the cases when he was a lawyer for prominent people on the continent of Africa. But because he needs to get more clients to come to ICC, he's shopping around Africa. He went and shopped and picked Russia. That's a client who can keep him busy. He can tell the Americans, I'm looking for Mr. Putin. But yet Mr. Putin is here. Why don't you go and knock his head and say, I have come to capture you. And then you'll see how they will capture you and miss you like a meat. You see? Why can't he travel to Rwanda, Angola, which is a friend of the Russians? They will capture him because there is a warrant there waiting in Rwanda, Angola. There is a warrant in Zimbabwe. Why can't the chief prosecutor travel to Harare? They will capture him, you know? So these are some of the things that the world must look. Where is Africa going, Miriam? Where do we go? Tinubu, yesterday, I looked through his speech. Very impressive. The only thing that I have a problem with Tinubu and Buhari, they locked a younger man. They have suffocated a younger man called Nnamdi Kanu for him speaking out only. He was speaking out for his people. Mr. Tinubu, we want you to begin however bad you are. We came from an era and we have gone to disaster. Let's not go to disaster. Let's not call you a disaster president. Let's call you a redemption president. You have come with a speech of redemption. Uhuru Kenyatta, you came and gave a speech of redemption. That speech of redemption, Uhuru Kenyatta, that you gave us is not a speech for nothing. What do you really want to redeem? What do you really want to redeem? What do you really want to talk about? Kenyatta gave views in Nigeria regarding a redemption strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, it is also very important for everybody to understand, for everybody to know that in Africa, there is need for a redemption strategy. Without that, Miriam, without thinking of healing, reconciliation, our continent will be littered with pitfalls of insecurity, conflict, wars that are killing our continent and retarding development in our continent. As I hand back the mic to say, which way to go? What have you seen? What did you see yesterday from Nigeria, a big population of 220 million people, 68 million people of registered voters? The machine ate them. What do you think?
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think those are very vital questions there that you've raised, that perhaps the challenge that the new president of Nigeria now will have to try to address. And I think part of his speech, I think he said that he will make sure that Nigeria does not disintegrate. So I'm assuming in essence he was also trying to touch on the issue of what the IPOB has been seeking, and that is the secession. And so the new president has said that is something that will not, happen under his watch. But perhaps they need to figure out as a country how they would address that issue, because as much as the former president now, Muhammadu Buhari, did not want to engage in these kinds of a conversation, that issue did not go away. So I think this is something that Nigeria as a country must now try to think of ways of talking about it and see how they can move forward, as a country. So I'll just read part of what he said yesterday. The President Bola Ahmed Tinubu during his inauguration speech yesterday. And so, all right, so he said, as a nation, we have long ago decided to march beyond the dimness of night into the open day of renewed national hope. The question we now ask ourselves is whether to remain faithful to the work inherent in building a better society or retreat into the shadows of our unmet potential. For me, there is but one answer. We are too great a nation and too grounded as a people to rob ourselves of our finest destiny. This nation's journey has been shaped by the prayers of millions and the collective sacrifices of us all. We have endured hardships that would have made other societies crumble, yet we have shouldered the heavy burden to arrive at this sublime moment where the prospect of a better future merges with our improved capacity to create that future. To the surprise of many, but not to ourselves, we have more firmly established this land as a democracy in both word and deed. The peaceful transition from one government to another is now our political tradition. This handover symbolizes our trust in God, our enduring faith in representative governance, and our belief in our ability to reshape this nation into the society it has always meant to be. And so it goes quite flowery there, and the hope that this speech exemplifies. But I think outside of this great speech that he gave yesterday, it goes on and on. I can't read the whole of it. It's quite long, but I think he does. I don't know if he does acknowledge the challenge that lays ahead of him. So outside of this, that speech was done yesterday, and so today is another day, and Nigerians are really seeking to see how President Tinubu will have to respond to some of these pressing issues like insecurity. The people who did not vote, Doc, who are the majority? Why did they not vote? What is the disconnect between the citizens and the political dynamics in Nigeria? What does the voter apathy mean? What is it that perhaps they might seek from this new administration? So outside of these wonderful things that President Tinubu was saying yesterday, I think the real work lies ahead, I think, from today moving forward. So I don't know if at all he has a strategy in how he wants to handle these issues, because Buhari clearly was very clueless in certain issues like security, for instance.
Miriam, it is sad that every Nigerian president comes up with promises. But this man, having been a street...
All right. Okay. Sorry about that. We've lost him there, but he will be back very soon. So I was just going through that speech. By now, he is the president-elect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And so, like I said, his speech really is full of hope. His speech is full of perhaps faith that he believes in Nigeria and as a people. And I think the real work lies ahead. So part of what he said yesterday: my supporters, I thank you. To those who voted otherwise, I extend my hand across the political divide. I ask you to grasp it in the national affinity and brotherhood. For me, political coloration has faded away. All I see are Nigerians. May we uphold these fitting and excellent notions as the new Nigerian ideal. My fellow compatriots, the Nigerian ideal which I speak of is more than just an improvement. All right, I think we'd lost Dr. Matanga there for a moment, but I see he's back. Doc?
Miriam, I don't know why my Zoom is telling me.
It's okay, we've sorted it, yes. Just go. Yeah? We have sorted it. We apologize for that. Just go ahead.
Oh, my God. Thank you. So, Miriam, I was saying, Mr. Tinubu is just a street vendor. He has grown from street vending business. I don't want to tarnish his name without facts that I put forward. I got the facts, but for now, we want to spare him on one or two things. The only disagreement that I disagree up to now, which you cannot change me, is he did not win an election. That's the truth. But for now, since they have sworn him in, he has become the president of Nigeria, is recognized now by the UN. We shall give him that element of a so-called inverted commas. He's a street vendor who came up, grew up in those areas, took over the whole of Lagos. Half of it is his. So let's see whether he can allow insecurity to kill his kingdom, whether he can allow insecurity to destroy what he wants to give to Nigeria, a dream. Now, all of the presidents in Nigeria come with very good words. You remember Mr. Buhari came with very good words 8 years ago. He said, 100 days, give me 100 days, I'll finish Boko Haram. One of the problems that kills Nigeria is Boko Haram, insecurity, as you have mentioned in your commentary, in your analysis. Insecurity is key. No country can develop without proper tranquility, proper peace. You cannot, even if you have all the economic muscle, you can change tax, you can bring taxation, you can give taxation to people, they can stomach it, pay, but once you have insecurity in your country, like in Nigeria now, it's secure. There is no place in Nigeria that is secure where you can sit properly and say, can leave my money, my bag on the street and come. Very few places. I don't think so. There is none. People are talking themselves. In North, the terrorists have taken over. All the girls have shifted to South. If you have a daughter in the North, you better send this daughter south into Lagos, Harcourt, and other areas in order for them to survive. The whole of North has been taken over by terrorists called Boko Haram, who come take children, younger girls, take them to slavery. We have never found them. Buhari promised us to bring up our girls. These girls have never been found. Now, he has inherited a very complicated situation. We have the situation of Biafra, which has been a key, an important issue on as far as the entire Nigeria is concerned. It caused the war in 1966-67. The root causes of such is what President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya touched on. A bigger tribe, a smaller tribes hating bigger tribes. Ethnicity is rampant in Nigeria. People openly tell each other, you are Fulani, you are Igbo, go home. This is not your country. Imagine, Miriam, you are in Nairobi, in Garissa, and someone tells you, go home. You don't belong to here. And yet, Kenya is one country. In your country, for example. Go home. This is what is happening in Nigeria. If you are up in Kano, in those areas, Madiguri, they tell you, what did you come to do here? You don't belong here. So, Mr. Tinubu must fight to remove that ethnicity, which almost crippled most of the states in East Africa. You saw what it created in Rwanda, a genocide, Tutsi and Hutu. We in Uganda, we had a very big situation in 1966 where kingdoms had become superior. You have to kneel before the Kabaka. You don't know how long you should kneel. If it takes 1 hour walking to near you, you must still stick down, Miriam, on the ground. You don't see the Kabakas. You lie even worse still. Some people lie on the stomach and they don't breathe when Kabaka is passing. These are some of the things. In 1966, it brought a crisis in Uganda. You saw Obote and Mutesa clashing Many people died. Many people left Uganda. The kingdoms were abolished. Uganda became a republic, a unitary state governed by the president. He abolished most of the 1962 constitution. He replaced it with 1966 and the 69 constitution. You see, Uganda moved on, Museveni took over. I can't tell you the history, what we have gone through, about 6 presidents between Idi Amin. We had 3 presidents, all of them thrown out in a short spell. Rule 68 days. That's the highest president who made history. With 68 days in power, he was removed, and then we moved on. It all finished. Because as soon as we gave Rule in 1978 power, and we handed him over power, he said, this seat for you, Uganda, what you have been waiting for, God today has delivered it. And the wording he used is the Chemwagaliza mbazi Katonda akisude. So it meant what you were looking for has been delivered to you. I am now the president. That one angered other tribes, and they formed the biggest majority in the army. Baganda were not majority in the Uganda National Liberation Army that toppled Idi Amin. Remember when Idi Amin toppled Obote from a northerner and a Luo, the Baganda in Kampala in 1971 celebrated. There were celebrations, jubilations. They were banning Obote's pictures, everybody telling all the Luo people to leave the capital city. But little known to them was that another northerner had taken over from another northerner. Amin started killing them. So the history, our history has been written with those difficulties, Miriam, that you see today that are in Nigeria. But thanks God to President Museveni. I want to give him a credit. After taking over power, there are things that he has stabilized and continue to stabilize. One of the things he has stabilized is the question of tribes. Tribes. We no longer think about tribes. Although his army in 1985-86 erred, and he has to accept this. Some of the mistakes the NRA made was to profile people as northerners and the southerners. So the army that went in the northern part of Uganda went on to a killing spree, and they started killing the black guys, saying they are northerners, they are not wanted, calling them so many names, including one of the most bad name called biological substance. One of the commanders was quoted as saying, these are biological substances that can be eliminated. It is on history. I have all this evidence, tapes, records, and everything. But we changed the course. That's the Africa we have. This, when Museveni saw that there is a U-turn, he made and accepted that peace must come first to develop Uganda. He agreed for peace talks. We went for peace talks in Juba. We hammered an agreement. We got all what was ailing Uganda. And Miriam, that's the Africa I'm talking about. When we talk about Africa, we should not be talking only about, but only generally. We must give case study. That's why I'm giving case study of my country, where we have moved on healing, a healing process, removing tribalism. Today, tribalism in Uganda is not seen in huge places openly. It could be done, practiced by people who have been given places of responsibility. But in Uganda, you cannot walk openly and start discriminating people, telling them to go home, like what is taking place in Nigeria. When you are Igbo, you are told to go home. So where is your home? Is it Atlantic Ocean? You should go and sit, because you are from Southeast, go back home. So where is back home? Because you have gone to Kano and top in Katsina, you are from there. You are told to go home, back home, go. So this type of ethnicity that Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta of Kenya touched on is something that must be healed in Nigeria. Does Africa need a redemption strategy, Miriam? Yes. Africa needs a redemption strategy. In Kenya there, what is pinning you today? You did not listen to me. You did not. I told you, Miriam, on several occasions, year in, year out, seated together with you on your right hand, left hand side. I always said Kenya needs a redemption strategy. Believe me or not, in the name of God, believe me or Jesus is watching me. If you don't do that redemption strategy, you are heading to a path that is impossible. And I remember Matthew chapter 10, verse 14, he said, don't ever waste your time. Grab what you can on the feet, get out if they don't hear you. Africa today needs a redemption strategy. And I've told you, without a redemption strategy, you can do any miracle you want. If you don't do that redemption, you will think of this Dr. Matanga forever. I might not be around, but you will remember me for this words that I said towards redemption strategy. If you don't do it in Africa, you are doomed. If you don't do it, you go Sudan way. I told Mr. Bashir to do a redemption strategy. He refused. He was overthrown. I told Daglo to do a redemption strategy, never to allow Mr. Bashir to be sent to the Hague. They refused. Where are they now? They are pounding each other. They are destroying the capital city, Khartoum. I told him Mnangagwa, I met him for 4 hours in his office, personally, and I told him, do a redemption strategy. This younger man needs a redemption strategy. He asked me, what is redemption strategy? I said, Your Excellency, it is this, that. It is a reconciliation, accountability, truth-telling, restitution, reparation, and above all, after you get those, if you get accountability, if you get reconciliation, if you get remorsefulness, if you look for alternative methods of justice systems, if you wipe out corruption by accountability, you won't have a conflict after elections. Me or not, you'll have what we call healing. We are now going to an election. I think Miriam, he has announced the election day. I've not been following. Did he announce the election day for Zimbabwe? Check it. They should be having an election in June, in July.
August. July. They changed, unless they've changed back to July. They had pushed it to August with no date, but I can check that quickly.
Check that one. I told him, you can't do an election again in Zimbabwe if you haven't done a redemption strategy. And I was honest. I'm not lying here. I saw him. I met him. He can't say he didn't see Matanga. And here we are going into an election again. African heads of state, some of them don't listen. Because you are a black man who went to school to study English, you are not recognized. But when a white professor comes in town, Tony Blair, he's recognized. And yet, Tony Blair's degree in Oxford is the same, is not better than Matanga's degree in London Guildhall University. We did the same subjects, the same modules. The same modules. In fact, mine was even harder because as an African, I had to come out and show that I'm capable of passing this exam. But people listen to Tony Blair than listening to Dr. Matanga in Africa. In fact, they give him more money that he denied them, giving even Dr. Matanga a medal. I hope you are recording this, Miriam. I hope so. They can't reward Matanga even a simple medal, but they will call Tony Blair to reward him a medal. And they said the former prime minister come for a medal. But Dr. Matanga cannot be given even a medal. Because, and yet we did the same subject. Tony Blair did political science in Oxford. Matanga did political science in the same institution, only that different names. The modules are the same. Hello? But here we are. In Africa, we glorify the Europeans. That's why they also underrate us. That one we shall come and just tell him we are going to do this. If you don't do this, then vote for me. Does it pain you that an African country goes to the toilet when voting is taking place in the UN? And they have gone for short call, they call the name abstention, absentee. Those who abstain, Africa has the highest number of those who abstain, medium. Because they have been lying in quietly, they lie. When the time of reckoning arrives that you must put up your hand, you have to go for a short call. Because what will you say? The man left there as a cleric officer will say, I can't vote on behalf of my ambassador. He hasn't given me mandate to vote. So they will say abstain. So these are some of the things that we must correct. And we must not correct with bitterness. We must not correct by destroying property. We must not correct by having violence. We should correct peacefully. Umesikia? We should correct peacefully by not having violence. People should sit and a redemption strategy needed. Every stage of European history has a redemption strategy. From agricultural revolution to industrial revolution, it was a redemption. You know that? It was a redemption. The industrial revolution created the industries. Instead of selling commodities of human beings, we started selling industries, creating industries for human beings to work in those in those industries. The cotton industry in Manchester, in Liverpool, in those areas, the slaves that were taken, instead of taking the slaves, carrying human beings from Africa, we turned on bringing the human beings that we took their centuries to come and work in the United Kingdom. That's a redemption. To give hope to the new life of the slaves that had settled in the Caribbean. They built railway. You saw the trains in London Underground. Who built them? Who built them? Who carried the concrete? Who carried the cement? Who carried the iron bars? Where did they come from? It's a redemption. It is created as a result of redemption strategy. Any scholar of European history and the British history will tell you that the underground, the cities of London were built. The church that I am an assistant warden was built in 1779. But the concrete still stands. There is no theft of, if you have been given cement to use, you use the whole cement. But Miriam, today if you are building a house, if you are not on site in your area, they will tell you 200 bags of cement. They will use only one, mix it with sand. When you are sleeping, even when you are, what is this thing of night? When you are sleeping, you do what? Oh, making a big noise, like some of us would make a big noise. The bricks start falling. So we have a problem here. Because the cement was not mixed. Corruption. The Africa we want. The journey begins now. And unfortunately, we have a very bad Africa with a very bad African Union. And unfortunately, African Union, the leadership currently does not inspire Africans to contribute to their continent. And unfortunately, Africa, the leadership of African Union Commission is just collecting salaries and making decisions being taken to court. A Kenyan man by Dr. Ocholo has taken African Union to court. Miriam, you saw that case. It's a landmark case for having badly sent away. Stephen and others can bring you the article, the intelligence reports that I did on South African Union. They are there. I said there was corruption, rampant corruption embedded in African Union Commission, where workers were given jobs on favorism, on nepotism, on tribalism, on country nationalism, nationality. If you are from a French-speaking country, you get the highest plum job in African Union. The rest, if you are from English-speaking country, you are chased like a dog. And Dr. Ocholo was one of those running around that he was in charge of the diaspora. I told him you will be sacked very soon. Now he was sacked, that man from Siaya. He was sacked, I think he's from Siaya, yes. He was a former minister in Kenya. You saw him last week going to sue the chairperson. For the first time in history, African Union is being sued for corruption. Mathanga said it, but because I'm a black doctor, even if someone goes to ask, who is he, where did he can't even explain my brain. He's asking me a level that I cannot match. So, but when they come to giving their medals, because if I don't speak now, Miriam, I might not be speaking again about this issue. You do everything for people. They can't give you even a medal. All the things that you praise, nobody can even think of saying, this is an honor for what you have done. Then you expect me to be, yes, stupid man. It's all right. I can't give an honor. Africa needs to accommodate. Africa needs to learn to appreciate their people. But you call a foreigner, Mr. Tony Blair, and you give him a medal. For an appointment in London, you give Mr. Tony Blair an appointment. First class, this is the man who banned you. Miriam, can you imagine that? This is the man who banned you, who put your country in chaos. And you are happy, smiling because you're a president, you give him even the priority to come to meet you first. It's a redemption strategy. Very good. That's a good one. But begin with those who helped you. Don't begin with those who wanted you to be jailed. Don't begin with those who wanted you brought down. That's why you people, Miriam, you have a problem at the moment. Or you began with people who did not like you. And when you give them everything, you find them not working for you, but going back to their original. Miriam, you remember? Going back to their original setting. They hated Miriam. And now they have reached power where they have free money, which they can utilize. They can utilize actually free money to make sure that they go and kill you. Did you know that? Because in the first you can't have a second life. They haven't redempted. They have not forgiven you. They have not forgiven you. They have not reconciled with you. They have reconciled with you in terms of getting your shot or second shot, third shot, fourth shot. But in actual sense, they remain an obstacle, an enmity. So that's the Africa we have. I believe Tinubu will change some of the methods used by General Buhari. This is not a military man. General Buhari stuck to his ground, detained this younger man who was rendated from nowhere, from a country nobody knows how he arrived in Nigeria, as it is claimed. The judges said, where did he come from? The Attorney General did not say where he got the person suspect. So the courts found, Miriam, they cannot charge a man. Where did they get him from? And the government in Nigeria has not told the whole of world publicly how they got Mr. Nnamdi Kanu and managed to bring him to court in Abuja. That's why the courts say we are charging maybe a wrong person. Where did you get him from? How did you manage to get him? Because it's an international law. You can't rendate people at night, sweep them and drop them, and you don't explain why you are dropping them. So these are some of the things. If Tinubu can change the course, Miriam, things will be on. I want to thank you very much on that. If you have anything to add, we can proceed on that. There are so many things in Africa. The journey we've been laid down by African Union. Can't tell me the Russian prime minister more big than presidents. To see Mr. Duglo, General Duglo, and the African Union can fail to see General Duglo in a hideout somewhere.
But they've been working together. They're friends. Dagalo has been very close to Russia. Remember, he used to take trips to Russia, and then before we know it, the mercenaries came to Sudan. And so he has very good connections with Russia, actually.
But African Union Security Council should also have connections. Why did we create an African Union Security Council then?
Well, Russia is a member of the Security Council, so what do we do now? Or the permanent member?
Is there a member? Miriam, when you talk about a member of the Security Council,
permanent.
If you look at the case, because I want to take this opportunity to tell people who have been calling me about my application that I made to the ICC. Please, I want to read Article 13B, and the Miriam read it there. 13B of the Roma Statute. Open it there. 13B of the Roma Statute. Let's get 5-10 minutes on that. 13B, Article 13B of the Roma Statute. What does it say? Let Miriam read it in proper sober mood. Yes, the article says.
Okay, so under Article 13B of the Rome Statute, the ICC is entitled to exercise jurisdiction over the territory and nationals of states not party to the statute. And yeah, that is what that says. Yeah.
13B, go ahead, read it there.
Let me see. Let me just open the whole article. Okay, I think I got it.
There is A,
yes.
There is B.
So 13, yes. Exercise of jurisdiction. The court may exercise its jurisdiction with respect to a crime referred to in Article 5 in accordance with the provisions of this statute if a situation in which one or more of such crimes appears to have committed is referred to the prosecutor by a state party in accordance with Article 14b. A situation in which one or more of such crimes appears to have been committed is referred to the prosecutor by the Security Council acting under Chapter 7 of the Charter of the United Nations, or C. The prosecutor has initiated...
If there, Miriam, you have read that B, you can see that?
B, a
Who gives
situation,
you?
a situation in which one or more of such crimes appears to have been committed is referred to the prosecutor, but the Security Council acting under Chapter 7 of the Charter of the United Nations.
Full stop. The English is very clear. Mr. Karim Khan cannot show me a single letter from the Secretary General of the United Nations as a Secretary General of the Security Council referring Russia. I repeat, referring Russia.
But let me read C. Let me read C. Or the prosecutor has initiated an investigation in respect of such a crime in accordance with Article 15. See, it does.
Yes, initiated.
The prosecutor can initiate.
No, initiated. Article under Article 15. If you look at Article 15, still it talks about state parties. Hello, Miriam. Don't go back. Just listen. Talk to me. I will tell you. Article 15 looks at state parties. If you are signatory, but if you are not a signatory, you can't just walk into my place and start picking me. If you are not a signatory, you need to get that permission. That's why you put 3 articles. You get my point? You need for Russia, which is like, for example now, Rwanda is not a signatory of Rome Statute. You can't just walk into Rwanda. You must have permission, express permission, under UN, who is your employee, to go and investigate. But this man just woke up under the pressure of the Americans, who are non-members of the ICC, went to issue warrants. Where are we going to end? Can you arrest? I asked one question, Miriam. Can you arrest Putin? Where on earth can you arrest Putin? Where? Even Britain can't arrest Putin. Where would they keep him? Look at 15. 15 refers to state parties. Or if Russia has called you, even if it's, are you with me? If Russia calls you and is not a member, say, come and help us, fine. It is not a party, but it itself has called you. But you can't just walk and then you don't even go to their country. You indict them from this other side of Ukraine, of hearsay. That's where we have gone wrong,
Yes.
Africa.
And Doc, what you're saying has been captured, Article 15B's number 5. In respect of a state that is not a party to the statute, the court shall not exercise its jurisdiction over the crime of aggression when committed by that state's nationals or in its territory. So, yeah, what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much, my dear. Thank you very much. We have done our level best. And that's why I've struggled and I've gone to court. And I believe, if I'm tomorrow, I'm not a communist. I have never believed in communism. Neither am I a capitalist. I am an unaligned man who speaks my mind. I don't believe in Russia feeding me. I don't believe in any institution. But I speak for the non-aligned people who should find peace. That was a wrong move by the chief prosecutor of International Criminal Court. Therefore, it is challengeable. And I've gone to challenge it. Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like here again on this. I don't know what has happened today. Time is warning me, and we shall make adjustments. Any parting shot, Miriam? We have 4 minutes to go.
Not much. Perhaps you would make, I don't know if you're able to make a quick takeaway.
Yeah, which can be added on this main body. Thank you very much, viewers. The starting journey of Africa starts today. Let's from today, look at a redemption strategy. The only way out Africa can have peace, the only way Africa can have progress, economic emancipation, political stability is a redemption strategy. We must learn that history exists in two forms. History exists because it can be continued and can be remembered. If you don't continue with history and you don't remember history, those are the two characteristics that make history history. In Africa, we need people to move, to remember what happened, use it to make a better Africa. But it seems after 60 years, the same perennial problems, the same difficulties that we Africans had, continue to be there, continue to kill Africa. In every country, elections have become a trigger to chaos. Elections have become a trigger to contestants not seeing each other eye to eye. Every African election except South African election is followed by lots of people fighting, killing each other, violence on the streets, burning every property that we have. I believe Africa can do better, and it should be the continent to watch. Thank you very much. We see you again tomorrow at 11 o'clock when I will have another delivery. Thank you. God bless. I've finished.